To your question about Bengali style kirtan and mridanga playing, one or two styles is best. To introduce more styles is not good. It will become an encumbrance. If we introduce so much emphasis on style of kirtan, then simply imitation will go on. Devotional emotion is the main thing. If we give stress to instrument and style, then attention will be diverted to the style. That will be spiritual loss. Letter to Satsvarup Maharaj, 1976. Very important point, because we were hearing about kirtan groups and mood. If the mood is devotion to the Maha Mantra, that's the mood we want. If the mood is devotion to style and to instruments and to tunes, then we still have a way to go. As I've already written to you, we should not try to become a very popular musical party. Music is one of our items for chanting, but we are not musicians. We should always remember this fact. The best example is that we take advantage of the typewriting machine, but that does not mean we are professional typists. To Mukunda, 1969. Mukunda, by the way, Mukunda Maharaj was a professional musician before he joined. Yes?
Someone had asked about, if we're attracted to the tune or the mantra. People who are getting into outreach programs, they're coming, attending these programs, is it possible that a tune initially captivates a newcomer and then they get attracted?
Is it possible that the tune initially attracts a newcomer and then they come? Yeah, of course. Anything. They're attracted by the tune, they're attracted by the pretty girls, they're attracted by...
That shouldn't be our approach. And Prabhupada essence.
The main thing is that the purity of the holy name should be there. If you can chant nicely and it's attractive, that's very good. But if you start thinking that it's my tunes that are really bringing people to Krishna consciousness, then you're probably on the wrong track. I am pleased to note that there's an interest in having our Sankirtan party perform in various public engagements. So Tamal Krishna in 1969. The same thing is going on here, and they've been invited in such places as Amsterdam and Germany. So if you can also do this, it is nice, but do not change our principles. Practicing is already done by Kirtan. It is not required for us to become artists. Our main point is service to Krishna, not to please an audience. We shall not divert our attention too much to adjustment of musical sounds. People should not misunderstand that we are a band of musical artists. They must know that we are devotees of Krishna. Our devotional practice and purity shall be so strong that wherever we chant, there will be immediately an impression in the audience for devotion to Krishna. Again to Tamal Krishna, 1970. But one thing we must remember, that we are not professional musicians or concert party. Our main business is to vibrate the holy name of Krishna everywhere, so that the people will be benefited by hearing the transcendental sound. The musical training is not so important as it is to keep ourselves spiritually fit in spiritual strength. That we should not forget. If we are in spiritual strength, there will be no scarcity of money, and the spiritual strength is that each and every one of us must chant the 16 rounds of beads and follow the rules and regulations with great adherence. That's where the potency is, that's where the attractive force is. So if you have talent for musical achievement, Mahatma, 1972, that is nice. But if you nourish some idea of becoming famous by playing some music, that will be a source of frustration. The end. So it is better if you play your music for Krishna by having very ecstatic kirtans in your center in Vancouver. And in this way, as I have introduced it, all of the devotees and also the general public as well will be able to join together cooperatively in the glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not that we shall glorify anyone else. Let the materialists operate in their own way, but we have got Vaishnavism's stand, and we should train the general public to accept it and come up to our platform of process of doing things. Not that we should reduce to their standard. Jagadish Pandit, 1974. My opinion is that it is not necessary for us to utilize these different musical talents for spreading Krishna consciousness. I would rather see people follow strictly the path of Lord Chaitanya and his Sankirtan devotees. We're using mridanga, kartal, that is enough. We are not musicians, we are Krishna bhaktas. Therefore, we do not stress so much importance on these different musical talents. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is God himself. Had he thought it would have been better to spread Krishna consciousness by another way, he would have done so. But no, simply with mridanga and kartal, traveling and chanting Hare Krishna, asking everyone to chant Hare Krishna, preaching simply Srimad Bhagavatam philosophy. That is the process. There's no need for us to try and add anything to this simple method. It will only be a distraction. Therefore, I request you to follow the simple path of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and help me spread this wonderful mission all over the world. Keep yourself pure and fixed up in Krishna consciousness by following the basic principles that I have given. Chanting 16 rounds daily, following the 4 regulative principles, rising early, attending Mangal Arti and classes, etc. This is of the utmost importance. To Jagadish Pandit, 1974. Yes.
Raj, you were speaking about, kirtan being for Krishna, not for our own fame, our own promotion. Shastra also says how pratishtha is the greatest danger or risk to one's spiritual progress. And I was wondering, beyond japa, sadhana, reading, morning program, what else can we do to safeguard ourselves from that sort of notion in our hearts?
Simple kirtan. Chant Hare Krishna, kol kartal, for as many hours a day. Hear the philosophy, everything. Follow Prabhupada's 16 rounds, attending Mangal Arti, classes, rising early, following the regulative principles. This is our method. When we follow this method, the heart will be purified. When the heart is purified, pratishtha will be diminished and we'll be on our way. Is that okay? Anything else here so far? I have a couple more quotations along this line. Well, no, actually. Any further question about this? Yes.
Yes. There is any restriction on musical instruments.
Whether Iskcon has any restriction on musical instruments. Wherever I'm in charge, it does.
I see all Iskcon brahmacharis, when they go over preaching, they use all harmonium, and all of these things, even flute, all this guitar and violin and other things.
Yeah. I don't know what official restriction or lack of restriction Iskcon has on these things. I'm only giving this seminar to give what instructions our Prabhupada taught, and the leaders can take it up according to their best intelligence and discretion, how to do things.
But the Chaitanya Math and Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they got some restriction, but some purposes they're using outside.
You have this also.
But they heard the say, but at the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this harmony was not there.
Yeah. I told yesterday that in the old days when we were first coming here to Mayapur, to our Iskcon campus, we used to hear only the sweet Bangla Kirtan. Kartal, Kol, and very melodious. Now so many things have come, so I said, if you want to hear that original style Kirtan, you have to go to the other mutts. But then I said, I don't know if now you can't even go to the other mutts because they're picking up these things from us, from Iskcon.
But one thing I see, at the time of appearance of, in Bhagavatam we see, when Krishna was appeared, all musicians, celestial musicians, they play on their different instruments, like kettle drums, etc.
You made me think of a solution to these problems. The devotees should just chant purely, with pure devotion to Krishna, and the demigods will come and they'll play the
Appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, Caitanya-charitamrita. Lot of celestial musicians.
Yes.
They appear in the sky and they shower flowers and then they played on their different instruments. So that is why these restrictions now for preaching Krishna consciousness or Mahamantra.
Yeah. I'm only repeating these instructions that our Prabhupada gave us, that you can use other instruments, but the main thing is not to distract from the holy name of Krishna, and the main thing is that all the kirtaniyas should be pure devotees.
Yes, yes.
By strictly following the Vaishnavachar.
Yes, yes.
I understand also, this is to Jadurani, 1967, there was a kirtan performance given by Sri Purna Das. You have rightly remarked whether they are devotees. You are right. These people are professional singers. Krishna Kirtan is not for earning a livelihood. Krishna Kirtan is not meant for entertaining the public, for demonstration of arts. It is dynamic service to the Lord. We do not therefore mind so much about the artistic presentation of Krishna Kirtan, but we want to see how much a devotee is satisfying the supreme will. There's an incident, well, two things. There's a few things here that are of interest. One is in Prabhupada's last days, Bhavananda Prabhu brought a group of our own Bengali kirtaniyas from Mayapur, who were expert kirtan men. They all came by train, but when they arrived, Prabhupada showed no interest in them. He heard their kirtan once or not at all. They occupied themselves in chanting before the deities, while Prabhupada listened to his preferred kirtaniyas, his close devotees like Bharadraj, Hansadutta Swami, Yashodanandan Swami, Guru Kripa Swami. In Dvaiva Dharma, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, there's a section regarding a Brahmin singer from Shantipur, one Kalidas Lahiri. Early in life, while still a young boy, experts in the field of Indian classical music had taught him, and he considered that such instruction qualified him to occasionally lead the kirtan sessions of the Vaishnavas. He was a newcomer to the Vaishnava Sangha. However, when previously he had led some kirtans, the Vaishnavas were apparently not fond of his typically palace court classical touch. Nonetheless, he had introduced these classical variations into the kirtan, oblivious of the Vaishnavas' feelings. Attempting to parade his musical ability, he had stared at the faces of the Vaishnavas, awaiting a response, hoping for some appreciation. For quite some days now, this had continued. However, quite suddenly, a few days earlier, he had unexpectedly started to feel increasing pleasure in singing Harinam. He lost all interest in trivial talks as well as classical music. Thus, a metamorphosis took place in Lahiri Mahashai. He was now a Vaishnav. This is from Kripamoy Prabhu from London. When I lead kirtan, I feel I want to serve the devotees that are there. I'm very conscious that there's a very thin line and you can fall either side of the line. If you sing in such a way that afterwards devotees come up and say, "Nice kirtan," you've got to be very careful that you don't allow your artistic considerations to take precedence over the devotional. My devotional considerations are to be thinking of two things: Krishna, and allowing the devotees to have space in which to listen to the holy name and reflect. So I try to chant in such a way that I know that everyone can join in. I don't tend to sing unfamiliar tunes. I sing familiar tunes that I think the devotees will know, just so they can become absorbed. I don't change the tunes that often, and I just really try to stay this side of the line of modulating the voice too much. That is, not modulating the voice so much that people will treat it as an artistic thing and not a devotional thing. At the time of the departure of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, the story is well known. He asked that someone sing Sri Rupa Manjari Pada. So one devotee who was considered a leading kirtan singer began to chant. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur interrupted him and asked that the singing be done by Srila B.R. Sridhar Maharaj, who was not especially noted for expertise in kirtan. So again, sincerity over art. 1977, maybe it was, at the Gaur Purnima festival here, our managers, because as we were hearing, there are different kirtan groups in Bengal, so they wanted to, sort of bring everyone to our Iskcon Mayapur. So they had a kirtan competition, and they invited all of these groups, and some of our Iskcon devotees also had groups from different temples that were very good at kirtan. So they all took part in this competition, and they were graded by the dress, the dancing, the kartal playing, the mridanga playing, the kirtan, the singing. And so the kirtan competition is going on. And these groups were fantastic. I mean, a white todi and a yellow sash and a red uttariya, or not an uttariya, but another red sash and a turban and a this and that. And they were so good at playing kartals and mridanga. They could have baked bread with their mridanga playing. And all fantastic. I mean, and some of our Iskcon groups are kind of like watching with intent, intently studying the way these groups were doing. and and the singing, Hare Krishna, on and on. And our Prabhupada was a little indisposed at the time. He was staying in his quarters in the Lotus Room, and he sent down the instruction that they should turn off the amplifiers. He said they are simply singing for money. Rejected. With regard to your question about Bengali style kirtan and mridanga playing, one or two styles is best. Okay, I quoted that already. This is from Prabhupada Nectar. At one of the Iskcon International Festivals in Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada rejected the singing of one of his disciples. He'd previously been a singer in a band, and his kirtans were much appreciated by some devotees, especially those from his home temple. But when, with showy professionalism, he began leading the Guru Puja in Prabhupada's presence, making the tune sound like a rock and roll ballad, Prabhupada didn't like it. He shook his head and indicated that someone else should lead. The great kirtan singer was devastated by this rejection, another form of Prabhupada's mercy. Prabhupada wrote in 1976, in India the system is that people go to see the Jagannath deity. The deity is not very beautiful from the artistic point of view, but still people attend by the thousands. That sentiment is required. Similarly, with our kirtan, we are only using drums and kartals, but people come to the point of ecstasy. It is not the ornamentation, it is the ecstasy. This ecstasy is awakened by Shravanam Kirtanam, by devotees. In 1976, in Auckland, now actually people are surprised. What this Hare Krishna mantra has got power, that it is changing people so quickly. And on the other hand, it is to be admitted, unless it has got power, how is it changing? So we have to keep that power. Don't make it an ordinary musical vibration. It is a different thing, spiritual. Although it seems like musical vibration, but it is spiritually completely uplifting. Mantroshadi. Even by mantra, the snakes can be charmed. So mantra is not ordinary sound vibration. So we have to keep the mantra in potency, potent, by offenseless chanting, by remaining pure. If you pollute the mantra, then it will lose its effect. A small thing, I've noticed another little, what would you say, ornamental addition to Iskcon Kirtan these days, which I call the double clap. Instead of Hare Krishna, now it's Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Who has heard this in Mayapur?
We are taught like
They have
You're taught like that.
Yeah.
the hands about to raise for the second repetition. So it's like the mantra goes into the last bit, they go tap, 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 and they go like up hands for the entire repetition. Like a bit of a...
It's not just being spontaneously adopted. Devotees are being taught that they should do this. Just see. Well, I can report that I wasn't taught to do this. And none of my godbrothers or godsisters were taught to do this by Srila Prabhupada. I don't know why it has been being introduced. I don't know why you're being taught to do this. Personally, I find it irritating in the extreme and distracting. To do that, you have to be thinking about doing that. And if you're thinking about doing that, it's a distraction. What we're meant to be thinking of is the holy name of Krishna, but instead, this little special ornament. I'd like to track it back. You're being taught by who, go up the ladder of authority and find out where this is starting from. The washerman in his ass, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, it's just another one of those things that doesn't come from Prabhupada and gets into the kirtan. There's a famous book about writing in which the author says that writing improves in proportion to what you can keep out of it. Writing improves in proportion to keep, you throw so much stuff into your writing. No, the more junk you can keep out of your writing, the better it will be. If you can be simple and straightforward and short and to the point, that's better than having all this junk in your writing. So similarly, I apply it to kirtan, that kirtan improves in proportion to what we can keep out of it. Srila Prabhupada's way of kirtan was simple. He would start very slowly and gradually build up speed. And in that way, one becomes absorbed in the sound vibration. I see these days there's sort of a Mach 2 startup. They start at twice the speed of sound. And then where do you go from there? When your kirtan is started with da 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 da, now you have to do, what can you do? You have to change the tune. You have to do, some sort of artistic thing because you have nowhere else to go. Prabhupada just started slowly, gradually built up, gradually built up, gradually built up, gradually built up, and then everybody would be in ecstasy, and then he would stop. You've got to add deity mantras, you've got to do all these things, you don't want people to lose interest. And Prabhupada, his way was wonderful. According to Yadubara Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada once stopped a Mangal Arati Kirtan in the middle when the leader changed the tune. He was there. As mentioned earlier, it's good for us to chant tunes that people can follow. In recent years, we've seen a sort of art song version of kirtan, a performance with tunes and style well suited for people blessed with an accurate musical ear, technical proficiency with instruments, and a wide vocal range from high notes to low. And if that's you, you'll fit right in. And if not, too bad. Srila Prabhupada sang simple tunes anyone could follow and just fall right into. It was something for everyone to take part in, not a form of performance art for the musically gifted.
Okay. Maharaj, one time I remember one video is there where Srila Prabhupada is recording, and Srila Prabhupada is singing and they are recording. Then he's saying, my father wanted me to be like this, to know everything. And secondly, Prabhupada is saying when we are addressing a group or class, one should prepare well. So in this context, for the kirtana purpose, whether we should give time to study well before? Or
Yeah, you should learn how to play the mridanga. And you should learn how to play the kartals. And you should learn how to play them simply and sweetly. And as Prabhupada said, 1 or 2 styles is enough. It's not that you have to become a professional mridanga player, Zakir Hussain on the tabla or something. Simple and nice. The main thing that mridanga players need to learn, which they used to be taught first thing, and which now seems to have been lost in the waves of eternal time, is to follow the leader. It's a very simple thing. If you're the mridanga player, unless you're singing, you are not the leader. You are the assistant of the leader. And Manusyanam Sahasreshu, it's like 1 out of 1,000 mridanga players these days knows that. It's a very simple thing. Just follow. If the mridanga players learn that, we'll see a 10,000% improvements in Iskcon Kirtan. It's just that you follow. Just to follow. There's another thing, This is another, while you brought that up, thank you very much. This is Prabhupada Nectar. Prabhupada was present during a kirtan performed by his disciples in the Brooklyn Temple. The mridanga player had been practicing to learn complicated beats, and he was demonstrating his rapid and intricate abilities in the kirtan. But Prabhupada stopped the music and said to the drummer that he should follow the leader. Then he started the kirtan again, but it happened again, and again Prabhupada stopped the kirtan and asked the drummer to follow the leader. Some of you may know Gopal Raj, who was part of the kirtan party in Vrindavan, and he was here in Mayapur sometimes. He says, I just try to do what the leader wants. That's the key. They say that a good drummer or a good bass player isn't heard. I hear, it drives me crazy, these mridanga players, I get a mridanga player and it's like, blah, 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 blah. Every nanosecond has to be filled with a riff. He's learned all these beats and all that education can't go for nothing. So it's like a mridanga exposition. It's all about the mridanga. And it's not at all about the holy name of Krishna. I have a recording somewhere of Srila Prabhupada's godbrother Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj, who was renowned in the Gaudiya Math for his kirtan. And he was an expert mridanga player. I mean, when he wanted to, he could, scare you with how good he was. But you hear this recording, and he's just chanting Hare Krishna, and the mridanga is boom, 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 boom. So simple that no Iskcon mridanga player would dare play that simply, because his focus was on the holy name of Krishna, which is where Prabhupada wanted our focus to be. Not on all your fancy beats, not on... And then you can't even follow the leader because, it'll set your beats off out of sync. So you're listening to how your little riff is going, and you're out of the kirtan. You're in your own world. And which is fine with me, but go there. This is what I look for in a mridanga player. That he can play simply and he can follow. If he can do that, he's Mahatma Sudurlabha. Hold on, we're giving you a microphone.
Hare Krishna. In Mayapur, we see in Rath Yatra festival, they're not using any more mridanga at all. They just add up some band party, and the singers sing, follow that, and mridanga is not there at all. And that's really discouraged me to go and attend kirtan. So I was wondering, so there should be not some rules? Like I remember when we in Panchatattva prayer, we had a 2-line that we used to sing. Gauranga Nija Shakti Pandit Gadadhar. Then Iskcon GBC made a rule that this is not original song, so you cannot sing it anymore. So you all follow that standard. It's nobody singing anymore. So it looks to me, if it's from higher authority and Iskcon, they really give us instruction and strict guideline. So it will be easy to follow. Otherwise, everybody thinks it's okay, whatever we do.
Yeah, Yadyadathriti Shreshtas Tattede Vetaro Jana. Leading, people become prominent, and then whatever they do, everybody follows. But I'm not going to recommend to the GBC what they should do. They're the GBC. I'm just, a citizen. But I certainly wouldn't mind seeing the GBC take greater leadership in this regard, to pay attention to bringing the kirtan more in line with Prabhupada's instructions. But it's up to them. They're the authority.
Srila Maharaj heard when I sing Mayapur, place like Mayapur, so where people come and learn this kind of culture. But in Rath Yatra time, it's really loud, it's so passionate, no mridanga at all, no mridanga at all.
What can I say? I don't mind if there's a proper band. Have a band, have bagpipes, have whatever you want, just to make a parade. But then behind that, you have to have, our Gaudiya Kirtan, Hare Krishna Kirtan. Yeah. Yes.
Prabhu is having a question that after the class, as you mentioned about double claps, so when we clap after the class, is it okay?
Of course, this is not a kirtan question, is it? You're just taking advantage of my presence to get my opinion about clapping after the class. And I think I'm going to skip the question because it's off topic.
And Maharaj, secondly, as you were mentioning about the instruments, and yesterday one devotee mentioned that it helps the dancers in dancing. So it is related to dancing, so would you be touching this point, or you'll be taking it else?
Dancing. That's a whole other topic. First of all, you don't need lots of fancy instruments to get devotees to dance, because we hear that, who was it that was dancing for 64 hours or something? Vakreshwara Pandit. 72 hours he was dancing to Kol Kartal, Kartals and Mridanga. So, there was no bass, there was nothing else, but he was dancing for 72 hours. There's a lot to be said about the dancing that goes on in Iskcon. Prabhupada had some things to say. Because that's a whole different seminar, that should be 3 days in itself. Let's see if I have something handy on that, however. Yes, I do. Let's see what it says. I know my godbrother Mahabhuti Prabhu told me that Prabhupada stopped him and others who were doing a kind of a boogaloo, kind of Western style dancing. Rupanuga, is asking Prabhupada, July 8th, 1976. I also wanted to ask a question, Srila Prabhupada, on dancing in the temple room during Arti, especially Mangal Arti. Is it not that the devotees should not turn their back while dancing to the deity? Prabhupada said, no. And they should not bump each other or dance with each other personally, distracting the attention from the deity? Shouldn't all the dancing be focused toward the deity? Prabhupada says, sometimes dancing is done here in peculiar method. And the devotees laughed, or Prabhupada, there's laughter. And Prabhupada, that is not desirable. The dancing, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is showing. Rupanuga, you have shown us the feet changing of the feet with arms upraised, not with the back to the deity. Prabhupada says, they do it out of sentiment, but that is not very good. Rupanuga, also they bump one another with the drum or with each other's bodies. They dance and they bump like this. That is not bona fide, is it? It is very popular in our movement now. Prabhupada, they're inventing. What can I do? If you invent in your own way. (1976), New York. By the way, I was reminded a couple of weeks ago, Vaisheshika Prabhu told me there was a time he reminded me there was a time in Kirtan when the devotees would, at a certain point in the Kirtan, they'd like stop the chanting and just rev up the mridangas, boom, 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 just to get everybody really revved up. And like a drum circle sort of thing. And so he was present at one kirtan, and the kirtan leader was doing that, and Prabhupada stopped it. He said, that basically you're wasting time. That time should be used for the Maha Mantra. This is TKG, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, 1976 in New York, reading from a press clipping. The kirtan begins with the chanting of the Maha Mantra, slowly at first and melodiously. Later the chant will speed up the spirit as the spirit of devotion spreads. Often the most rapid and intense chanting is done by a hardcore knot of dotied men before the curtains of the shrine. The devotees get in one group and start hardcore devotees. The rhythm approaches that of an express train, and the atmosphere is apt to remind a lay visitor of an old-fashioned football rally. American football, maybe, or maybe not. Some of the onlookers try to keep up with the central group, clapping their hands, swaying their bodies, throwing arms upwards, and among the younger, adapting modern dance steps to the rhythm. Srila Prabhupada, who has introduced this peculiar dancing? Sorry, it just evolved. Rupanuga, we were speaking about that the other day. It changed from the original dancing that you showed us to something else, too much like the modern dancing. Prabhupada, I think this is not good. Shall I read on? The service has become, what way should we dance, Srila Prabhupada? With our hands outstretched? Sometimes the devotees like to jump around. Is that all right? Prabhupada, in ecstasy one can do anything. That is another thing. But artificially to do something is not good. TKG, but if one feels like jumping, is it all right? Prabhupada, anything artificial is not required. Rupanuga, so running back and forth is not, that was a kirtan thing, somebody running back and forth. Prabhupada, no, that should not be an artificial. So that's a whole topic, as you can tell, dancing. Prabhupada taught us to dance. Radhanath Maharaj, the way Radhanath Maharaj dances. That's how Prabhupada taught us to dance. You've all seen Radhanath Maharaj dancing. Arms outstretched and That's how Prabhupada taught us. And you can see the picture is there. Some of our old pictures are there of Panchatattva, and they're dancing like that. That's what Prabhupada taught us. Not, the modern, so many things. We're just about out of time. We have a few more minutes only. I hope that, is there a burning question that I haven't answered? I don't think so. I sense that we're all right. Covered a lot of ground. I hope that this has been useful for you. I hope you found it informative. I've tried to stick to what Srila Prabhupada said and not insert too much of my own biases and preferences and personal likes and dislikes. There's some. The point is that we should know what Prabhupada instructed, and as Prabhupada's followers, we should try to follow what Srila Prabhupada instructed. Otherwise, sakalaneha mahata yoga nashta prantapa. As we heard from Kripamoya Prabhu at the beginning yesterday, that what we do now will be multiplied. If we introduce something new, the next group will, some sadhu, I heard this from Tanadhar Maharaj, he said, the sadhu was saying that if you pass urine standing, the next man will pass urine running. So whatever we do now, others will take it as this is the Iskcon tradition, this is what's always been done, this is what we've been taught, this is what our leaders do, and then something gets introduced, another thing, and pretty soon no one knows what's authentic and what's not, what's wanted, what's not wanted. And in all of this, the holy name of Krishna, which is our life and soul, gets lost. So I hope that this has been useful for you, and I thank you all for coming and asking your questions, including the challenging ones. They're equally welcome. And again, thank you for taking part. We have a little Mahaprasadam from my Krishna Balaram deities. As I mentioned the other day, Prabhupada said that kirtan, there must be prasadam where there's kirtan. Any function, there must be prasadam. And it could be a little bit. Prabhupada, some program, Prabhupada would just have them cut up some little apple, but there must be something. Otherwise, mantrahinam, ashrishtanam, vidihinam, vidihinam, ashrishtanam, mantrahinam, adakshinam. A program without distribution of prasadam isn't the mode of ignorance. A yagya without prasadam. So we do have some prasadam. We'll try to avoid the mode of ignorance today. One last one.
I was traveling with you from Orlando to Alachua, and you on the way in Orlando in evening you give Bhagavad Gita class, and 45 minutes, almost half an hour, 45 minutes you lead kirtan, simple bit, and Mridang and Korta. I really liked it. I feel it so much energy in that kirtan, although it was not really so much like technical to Mridanga how to play. It was simple 3 beats you and Kartal and Devotee was playing Mridanga. But I really like it. I thought maybe it goes hour and hour I can continue hear this kirtan. Yeah. So that shows that you're following Srila Prabhupada guideline. That's why when you lead kirtan, it really is strong.
It's your kindness. I mean, I don't have a voice. I don't have much going for me. Devotion is so-so. It's really the holy name that makes the kirtan relishable. That's where the potency is. That's where the enjoyment is. That's where the enlightenment is, that's where the ecstasy is, that's where everything is. It all comes from the holy name. And the more we can not get in the way, if we can just not get in the way and let the holy name manifest his magnanimity, his mercy, his attractiveness, the Kirtan movement will spread all over the world.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,